Here's why I haven't given up when it comes to Bittensor, even though nothing I say is financial advice, and even though I'm not telling you into anything. Now, first of all, it's because I don't think I've seen an altcoin season during the cycle, and second of all, when it comes to Bittensor, I still like it fundamentally. Now, also on top of that, when I take a look at TAO, its native token, what it is as of right now in terms of market cap is basically just back to what it once was back in June. So it just, what, we're taking a look at around 5 months ago, right? It's not like, oh, we'll have to take a look back at Tao at this exact time or that time or this long ago. I mean, just back to the levels in which it was back in June. And even back in June, I actually did not mind dollar cost averaging into Tao, even though I'm not telling it into anything, but this is just my perception. So now I can just dollar cost average again into Tao, in which I didn't mind before. Like, I don't know if I'd complain about that, but this is just my perspective. And actually, Tao, compared to some other projects out there, the pullback hasn't been as extensive. Now, because by nature, Tao is an altcoin, the pullback is just sometimes going to be a little bit more drastic than like some of the even bigger cap altcoins out there, or even in the case of, let's say, of course, Bitcoin. But I'm saying Bitcoin isn't an altcoin, but I just wanted to use that as an example. However, when I take a look at it, Tao just hasn't had a pullback as extensive as what I've seen for some other projects out there. Like, for instance, some other projects out there, they're back to the levels in which they were once back in 2020. So we're talking about around 5 years ago at this point, and we're almost in 2026, you know what I mean? So then a lot of other projects out there, the pullback has been pretty massive. Like, Tao hasn't done that, right? Now, could it hypothetically do that? Who knows? I cannot control this in any way. But then at the same time, from what I can see right now at this exact moment, I just have not seen Tao have such a pullback in which I've seen in some other projects out there. But then again, it is an altcoin, so then the pullback in some cases is going to be pretty extensive, but it's just not as extensive as some other altcoins that I see out there. But who knows, only time will tell, but I'm just saying. When it comes to Bittensor, why am I still a fan of it fundamentally? Well, it's because even though Tau to go to 3 grand as of right now is around 11x from here, so I mean the pullback has been massive, but not too massive. That's the way to take a look at it. Because my point of view is that when it comes to Bittensor, it's focused on a market in which I still am a fan of. Like, for instance, primarily speaking, Bittensor is focused on two markets, right? Machine learning and as well as AI. Now, machine learning, as of right now, it's not as popular as AI within this space, I would say. But then I don't think it's that bad nonetheless, because, for instance, if we take a look at the global machine learning market size, it is expected to be worth over 200 billion by 2029. Now, this is according to Fortune Business Insights. Now, there's no way for me to tell right now because that is a projection for 2029, but it's still something that I have taken a look into, but who knows, only time will tell. Now, if we take a look at the AI market, according to Grandview Research, they do predict it to be worth nearly 2 trillion by 2030. Now, again, we're still clearly quite a ways away from 2030, but from what I can see at least, that at times when during the cycle we saw kind of moments of momentary brilliance when it comes to altcoins, we've seen some of these AI projects kind of, have their time a little bit. Now, I'm not saying that I've seen an altcoin season during the cycle. So when it comes to AI projects currently, again, some have been pretty okay, but I just haven't really seen some of it experience an altcoin season during the cycle. But again, only time will tell. But I'm just saying, when it comes to Bittensor, it seems to be one of the kind of popular projects within that space. And I still like that space as well. So yeah, this is also another reason why I've been giving up when it comes to Bittensor. Now, when people like to say, oh, why don't you go in greater detail when it comes to Bittensor? Here's the thing. When I take a look at Bittensor as a project, I feel like I'm not a developer, right? I'm not trying to do this or do that. Personally, for me, if I find a project cool or interesting, I'm just going to be a fan of it. Now, in previous videos, I did go a little bit more in depth when it comes to Bittensor. However, I feel like just generally speaking, if I take a look at Bittensor in kind of the most simple way I can, I would say that it's a project focused on AI and as well as machine learning, and that's all I kind of really want to know actually when it comes to Bittensor at the surface level. But of course, I have gone in greater detail when it comes to that, but then just generally, I think that's just all I pretty much care about when it comes to Bittensor. Now, even besides that, people like to tell me, well, why, if Bittensor is focused on, the AI market, why is it not really doing anything? Well, again, we're seeing this general event where a lot of altcoins are having a pullback. It's not only just projects that are focused on AI. Like, for instance, we see many projects out there in many different sectors, they're having a pullback. Just take a look at Bitcoin, which again isn't an altcoin, but that's having a pullback. Take a look at Ethereum, which is an altcoin, which is way more popular than something like TAO. Even that's having a pullback, right? We take a look at Algorand, we take a look at VeChain, we take a look at Polkadot. It's not just TAO. But then in this event where I'm seeing projects out there that aren't even necessarily known to have the best fundamentals out there, if they're having a pullback, and also projects that are known to have pretty good fundamentals, if they're also having a pullback, I want to focus on the ones which I like fundamentally. So then I'm a little bit more intentional about what I do during a time when things are just generally having a pullback. That's the way to take a look at it. Now, ultimately, though, I cannot control how things are going to go when it comes to this space. The only thing I can control is myself, which is why I'm just still staying patient, and that's about it. Now, the thing is, sometimes you like to tell me, okay, well, if a lot of projects are having a pullback, what does this mean? Now, it just means that I think altcoins are just generally having a pullback. I mean, what can I do about that? Also, on top of that as well, the analogy that I would kind of use is this, right? If let's say I am wanting to buy apparel, let's say I want to buy a t-shirt. If let's say a store that I walk into, let's say everything is just generally having a clearance sale and it's just having a discount, of course I'm going to be choosing the t-shirt because that's what I originally wanted. I'm a little bit more intentional at that point because if the tank tops, the jeans, if a lot of, just the apparel items are having a discount and also the t-shirt, I'm going to be focusing on the t-shirt, right? Because that's the one I originally wanted. So I'm a little bit more intentional about what I'm going to do. However, also on top of that as well, my thing is that when it comes to, let's say, this t-shirt that I bought, right? Is there ever a chance that it could appreciate? I highly doubt that personally in my case because unless I became a celebrity or a rock star, there's no way the t-shirt that I'm using could hypothetically, you know, be more of value than when I first acquired it, right? There's no way my t-shirt could experience a altcoin season of sorts or like a t-shirt season because it's not a collector's item. It's nothing like, too special. It's just basically a t-shirt that I bought. The moment I used it, it just depreciates, and that's kind of pretty much about it. That's my point of view. It's either I use it or just watch it depreciate. However, my point of view is this. When it comes to a project within this space, if let's say it goes down, let's say it depreciates, is it that way forever? Much like the t-shirt. I don't know about that because this space could hypothetically maybe experience an altcoin season. Who knows? Like sometimes if I take a look at kind of the example that I would use is like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is around that 80 grand area, right? Is that going to be its final kind of point? I don't know about that because maybe the markets could change, right? We just saw it at above 100 grand not too long ago. When it comes to another example, like let's say this t-shirt again, could this hypothetically be more than when I first got it? I'm like, no, because I used it, it depreciated. A t-shirt is a different case than a project within this space. Sometimes a project within this space, it could do this or do that, like it's going to be a roller coaster. This t-shirt is pretty much just in the downwards direction in terms of the hypothetical value. Now I could still use it, but I'm just saying. However, that's just kind of my point of view. So I don't have this point of view where, oh, things are just going to be a certain way forever. It could maybe change. That's why I just ultimately haven't given up. Not to mention, when it comes to, let's say, when it comes to me dollar cost averaging into a project, like when I dollar cost average into something, like I'm not going to know what it's going to do moving forward. Like for instance, I don't only just hold TAO. Now some people may be thinking, why? Well, it's because even if though I am a fan of Bittensor, I cannot control the project, right? I do not know what's going to happen to this. Like for instance, Cadena, I was a fan of it as a layer 1 blockchain, but then the Cadena organization not too long ago announced that they're having this moment where they're going to be ceasing operations, right? Basically, they're going to be stopping operations. Now, they have a lot of reasons for that, I'm pretty sure, but I'm just saying, one of the reasons they talked about was because of the market conditions, and I didn't see that coming, you know what I mean? And had I only just held Cadena, imagine what would have happened. It had a pullback at that time, of course, because that news came out, and then it's even having more of a pullback right now because of the space that we're seeing, like the market conditions. So then to me, That is why I never just hold one project. That's just my point of view. And also historically, if someone's actually been watching my videos for even longer than 2 years, they'll know what happened with me in terms of the situation regarding Luna, which happened back in 2022. So yeah, when it comes to, those experiences, that is why I don't only just want to hold one project. That's just kind of my point of view. I'm all about dollar cost averaging into a group of projects that I do like, and that's pretty much about it. But ultimately, when it comes to Bittensor, I am still staying patient. I haven't given up, and I'm still gonna just wait and see what happens because I don't think I've seen altcoin season during this cycle. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. I'm gonna wait and see. However, even though nothing I say is financial advice, and even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything, I personally again just have not given up when it comes to Bittensor. And I want to say thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you all have a nice day. It's Mali the Captain, and I'll catch you all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.